On the idea of misnomers, there's the term that many of us identify ourselves with. We call ourselves Hebrew Israelites. Many groups, organizations, and world religions, and those practitioners of world religions, without naming who they are, will say, well, that's a misnomer, Hebrew Israelite. Number one, you can't find Hebrew Israelite in the Bible, so that's problematic from the outset. So I want to ask you to qualify for us, our viewing audience, the usage and employment of the term Hebrew Israelite, and then explain to us why it's not a misnomer and why it is necessary to use such an appellation.
The term Hebrew Israelite, and also, our connection to the tribe of Judah or the other tribes of Israel, is actually a very correct term, and it gives very clear identification for who we are, coming from the lineage of Abraham, because Abraham was a Hebrew. He was that first Hebrew who had crossed over from one lifestyle to the other, from one country to the other, from who he was beforehand, Abram, to Abraham. He became something and someone else from where he was beforehand. Him being a Hebrew means that all of his children, his progeny, would then also be Hebrews. He didn't only have one child, Isaac. He also had Ishmael and other children that we read about later on. So all of them then will be considered Hebrews. Ishmael and all of his other children will be considered Hebrews. But now, how do we identify the seed from which that Hebrew is continuing through as Hebrew Israelites? We identify that seed as going through Yitzchak, or Isaac, who then also gave birth to multiple children. Amongst them were Jacob and Esau. Now, again, from Abraham all the way down to Jacob and Esau, all of these people will be considered Hebrews. But Israelites is very specific and direct to the progeny then of Jacob, of Israel. And so we wanted to make it clear that when we say we are Hebrews, we are Hebrew Israelites. We're not Hebrew Ishmaelites.
Come on.
We're not Hebrew Idumeans. We are Hebrew Israelites going through the lineage of Israel, of Jacob, because his 12 sons then became the children or the nation of Israel. And so we wanted to make it clear to people that when we say Hebrew Israelites, we're speaking specifically about those who began, that progeny at Abraham, through Isaac, and then through Jacob, opposed to Abraham and then, for example, through Ishmael or his other children, or through Esau or his other children. We're saying specifically that this is how our lineage continues. So me being, a son of Minister Bechuria, Sar Bechuria, I would make it clear then that I am an Israelite, the son of Sar Bechuria, the son of, and then go, through, because my father had multiple siblings. But I want to make it clear that I'm not just coming from, his father, which is my grandfather. I want to make it clear that I'm coming through my grandfather, and then his son, who is my father, and then my children would then continue through my progeny. And so then that gives a very clear root understanding of where we are going with this seed. And so it's important to say Hebrew Israelites. No, you're not going to read about a Hebrew Israelite in the Bible, but you are going to read about the Hebrews in the Bible and the Israelites in the Bible, and all who were not Israelites, but who were Hebrews as well. So we want to make it clear that, no, I'm not talking about that. This is my family tree. That's Abraham, right. Isaac, Jacob, Israel, the 12 tribes of Israel, and I'm from one of those tribes.
This has been the most affirming, edifying, and validating, even as echoed in the comment section, of an explanation for this particular topic that I've ever heard on this particular podcast. So I thank you dearly for that. The next thing I want to speak towards is what some may call reactionary descriptions. I watched an interview. Much of the questions that I'm asking you are generated from my personal interests. They're generating from what I know my audience would want me to ask you, as well as me painstakingly taking the time necessary to watch through all of your videos to see what are your strengths and, if possible, any weaknesses, and to know how to engage you. So there's an interviewer that asks you in one of your interviews, essentially they're asking you to condemn Israelite groups here in America that are making what they would frame as a racial distinction, and saying that the black people in America are the real Jews of the Bible. And the interviewer was basically pushing you to condemn people who say that, because a Jew is a Jew no matter where they're from. And nobody's saying that there's not other Jews. And I watch you skillfully address it without the need to do what the interviewer was attempting to have you do, which is assassinate the character of your brother. So I'll ask you to briefly just revisit the concept for a moment. What are your thoughts on black people in America self-describing as the real Jews in the Bible? And if it is a reactionary title, what is the basis of it in your thinking?
Remember, I'm remembering that comment or that interview. It was 6 minutes long.
That's right.
And they had asked me to actually come on to speak about something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then they thought they were going to put me in a corner.
That's right.
Because I wasn't coming on to speak about what was taking place in America at that time with, those brothers and sisters who were marching for Kyrie from IUIC
right.
and others. They didn't say that that's what we were going to be talking about. They said they wanted to talk about something totally different. Once I get on and we start the conversation, I'm expecting one thing, but it's always good to be prepared.
That's
because
right.
you never know. So, he asked me, Black Hebrew Israelites, Black Hebrew. We've never identified as Black Hebrew Israelites or anything.
Come on.
We are Hebrew Israelites. This is what we have said. This is what we continue to say. The racializing of us as Black Hebrew Israelites did not come from us. It came from people who had a problem with us identifying with the people in the Bible.
Come on.
And so, because they had a problem with us, we didn't start a war with anybody saying that you all are not the real people. We just said that this is who we are. Remember, even in New York, the early, in the beginning with Rabbi Matthews, they wanted to be part of the board of rabbis in New York. But did you know, and I'm sure you did know, that all the way up until just a few years ago, they never even received a response.
Just a few years ago. That's right.
A few years ago, they only received a response to join the board of rabbis.
That's right.
Who were on that board of rabbis that didn't want us to be a part of the board of rabbis?
Come on.
It wasn't us. We were not the ones who were creating this. We were not the ones to say, when we arrived to Israel in 1968, the first members of the community who arrived in 68, and we said that we are the children of those Israelites who had gone into exile, taken into America to be enslaved against our will. We were forced to take on an identity of people that wasn't our identity. Our names were forcibly changed. Our day of worship was forcibly changed. Our mores, our folklore, they broke us down and then built us up into something else totally different. But we're saying that we're going back to reclaim our identity. Why is that a problem for us to re-identify as who we actually are before we had become who they made us into? But that's an issue not for us. We didn't create that issue. That came from others. And so the identity of a Black Hebrew Israelite came from others who didn't want to be identified with us. And so that was a response to their racializing of this identity. You still have people today who say, when they know good and well that Abraham was a Sumerian,
come on,
of African ancestry and descent, they know good and well that the nation of Israel was established when receiving the Torah in Sinai after coming out of Egypt with a mixed multitude of Egyptians who we know clearly were people of African ancestry, and established themselves in the land of Canaan, who we know that Canaan is a child of Ham, who the world have put forth that Ham was cursed to be Black as a way of justifying the enslavement of people of African ancestry by saying that this is something that had been decreed for us for the rest of our lives. Now they're saying that us being people of African ancestry and of this darker hue, we don't have any connection to the children of Israel in the Bible. Are you kidding me?
Break it down.
But we're not going to argue with anybody about who they are.
Come on.
You say who you are. I'm not in the game of defining for other people. There's some people, Zion, who identify today as cats. Some people identify their men and they say they identify as a woman. They are women, they say they identify as a man. I'm not in the game of identifying you. I'm telling you who I am.
Come on.
And if you have a problem with me telling you who I am, the problem is not with me. The problem is with you. And so we are exposing the people who have a problem with us, not us having a problem with anybody else. You can be whoever you say you are. The book says, I mean, there were people who converted. There were people who joined the family. I mean, Ruth was a Moabitess woman who her grandson became the king of Israel. She joined in and on to the family. So nobody is saying that you can't join in and on to the family, but you can't also simultaneously say that the family members that you are looking at, they don't have any connection to the family because you said so.
Because you said so. Come on.
Because you said so. That don't work like that. And so when it comes time to do it, we speak about these things. And you're not going to put us in a corner to try and force us to throw our brothers and sisters under the bus. Because even, in families, you have family feuds, you have disagreements internally, family members. Some people may be, one way, other people may be a different way. They may not agree on everything. You fight with family members all the time.
All the time.
But you're not going to now say that because you have a problem with your family member or you don't specifically agree with the way that they're going about things, that they're all wrong. Let's have the conversation first about who has tried to tell us that we were, how do they say it? They say that we are appropriating someone else's identity. Oh, really?
Culture vultures. They call us the culture vultures.
They call us the culture vultures. We haven't done anything to anybody. We were not the ones who didn't allow the brothers to be on the board of rabbis.
Come on.
We were not the ones to say that Prophet Crowdy, was out of his mind. He just woke up one day and just decided that he was an Israelite, a Hebrew Israelite, and just said he's going to go along with that. We weren't the ones that said that Ben Ami, my spiritual leader, was smoking something, and then he said that the angel was revealed to him because he was high on something. We didn't say that. We didn't say that none of the rabbis, of the Ashkenazi and the other community, they were smoking something because they said they received revelations. We don't disrespect anybody else's culture. We don't disrespect anybody else's idea, but they disrespect us all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And so when we say something about that, then we become the problem because we are nipping that now in the bud. We are saying, no, this is it. you've now went and changed history totally. This is the history. However you see that you fit into that history, more power to you.
That's right.
But don't tell me who I am. Who are you to define for me who I am?
Come on. No man has that right.
No
Come
man
on.
has that right. And so my leader in the 1970s in Israel, he looked them in the face and he said, I am a Hebrew Israelite. He said, I identify as Hebrew Israelite. I am a Hebrew Israelite. And he said, and who is to say any different? I said what I said. This is what I said. I said what I said. I am who I am. And who's going to say any different? That's the posture that we're coming with now.
That's right. I want to shift gears